Welcome into your Fox 16 Sports Plus. This is the show where we're going to break down everything important going on in the world of Arkansas sports. And the most important thing happening this week, guys, by far, was what happened on this field behind us last night. Arkansas versus Arkansas State, the first time this matchup has ever happened in history. And it happened here at War Memorial Stadium last night with Arkansas winning it 56-14. And really from the jump, it felt like the Razorbacks had momentum in this one because in that first quarter, they started fast. They scored 4 times. And in the first 39 seconds of the game, just 2 plays, and Mike Washington scores the first touchdown of the game. It was exciting to see, maybe not so for Arkansas State fans, but Josh, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about this matchup because I felt like the Razorbacks had something to prove here going up against Arkansas State.
Yeah, the first ever matchup in the history when it came to the only two FBS schools here in the natural state. And Arkansas, they understood the assignment, I should say. They understood that they are the flagship team. They are the reason why people come out and celebrate and have fun during football season. They wanted to make sure that they put their imprint on this game, especially it being the first game. This is going to go down in the history books. Frank Carmona said it after the game. This is going to go down in the history books. We wanted to make a statement. We wanted to show people that, hey, Arkansas Razorbacks, that's all you need to focus on. We are the college team. We are the professional team of the natural state. And they made sure they put that message loud and clear in the first quarter. 28-7 is how the first quarter ended. 4 touchdowns, the first 4 drives of the game for Taylon Green and the Arkansas offense, 290 yards. Taylon Green had 101 rushing yards, and he had 99 passing yards. I mean, he was looking like Lamar Jackson. He was an absolute beast. But something that also caught my attention was the fact that just the bevy of weapons that was at his disposal. I mean, he could go pass to a receiver to Omega Blake on the outside, or he could just hand it off to Mike Washington Jr. I mean, Bobby Petrino and what he has done with these Razorbacks in the offense over the last year and a half has just been night and day from what we saw in 2023, Courtney.
You know, I want to highlight what you just said there, Josh, because I thought that was the most intriguing part of this entire game for me, was that 8 different Razorbacks, 8, let that sink in, 8 different Razorbacks scored a touchdown in this game. And nobody scored twice. All 8 all 8 touchdowns were scored by 8 different Razorbacks. And so what that means is not what we've seen in years past, not what we saw last season, where Taylon Green, when he got pressured, he would go, Andrew Armstrong, Andrew Armstrong, yeah. Andrew Armstrong, Andrew Armstrong. You don't have Andrew Armstrong this year. And so a lot of people thought, what is he going to do? Well, maybe now Bobby Petrino says, hey, you got a whole lot of options, right? You got a whole lot of guys at your disposal, like you said, Josh. And so that's going to make it really hard for opposing defensive coordinators to prepare for this offense. You know, Paige, I want to ask you a little bit before we go and hear from Sam Pittman here. This atmosphere, this environment, Sam did talk about it and said, hey, it felt like a home game for them. This was your first time here at War Memorial Stadium. What was it like for you?
Well, I have to say I'm so happy. I'm still in SEC country. I mean, an SEC game day is like no other. I got here super early. I got here at like 10 a.m. to go ahead and cover all the tailgates. I got to meet the Hogfather, which I had no idea who he was until I got here.
Our boy Randall.
This game today was his 254th game, and the Memphis game is going to be 599 for him. So also, too, first time I ever called the Hogs.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
We're converting her. The Alabama grad. We're converting her. Maybe she'll come on up now. No.
We might. Paige, I love that you mentioned just the atmosphere. You got to meet so many different people. But what did you take away from this matchup for Arkansas specifically? We'll get to Arkansas State because I know you followed the Red Wolves for quite a little bit now. And so what did you see from Arkansas? Offensively, we've talked about that. But defensively, it looked a lot better from last week.
Well, real quick, I just have to say, I did not realize how tall Taylon Green was until I saw him on the field.
6'6",
and
230.
You realize he has to be the tallest quarterback in the SEC.
I think it's 6'7".
Yeah,
He
has to be
6'7" in
tallest.
shoes, yeah.
He has to be.
He might be. I think you're exactly right on that. I'd have to go and check, but I think you're definitely right on that. At SEC Media Days, he was definitely the tallest one that I could see. So absolutely. Defensively, Josh, for this Arkansas team, we're going to talk about it, but Sam Pittman, he had some good things to say about how Arkansas came out a lot better on the defensive side of the ball this week than they did against Alabama A&M. Check it out.
Philip Lee, because he had 1.5 sacks today. You guys were searching for a second defensive end with Quincy. I mean, how good, important is it to see these kind of back-to-back performances?
Man, you look at those two guys and you got 3.5 sacks between the two of them, and regardless of who you're playing, you got to get back to the quarterback, and a lot of times you have to blitz to get there, and we didn't today, so we blitzed, but we didn't have to get there necessarily on those sacks, and so they'll both. I think Quincy's going to be really, really, really special, and Phillip is that guy that we needed to run the edge and make some sacks, so he's done that so far.
Yeah, Sam Pittman talks about the energy that they came out with on defense here in this game versus Arkansas State. I thought it was interesting, Josh, how he did mention somebody had asked him, do you think Quincy Rhodes had a little bit extra fire in there? And he goes, you know what? I want to say yes to that question. So I'm going to say yes because he's in his hometown, and I love that. But listen, 10 tackles for loss from this defense, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. They were playing really, really well last night. Josh, what did you see from them?
I saw that they stepped up to the challenge. The defense, they responded well to Sam Pittman's challenge. When your head coach, the head hog, is saying that he was unimpressed, even though it was a blowout game 1 with your side of the ball, that's a message that you have to respond to. And they certainly responded to it in practice. He was talking about how they really came to work on Monday and Tuesday's practice, especially Tuesday's practice, how the defense, Xavier Sori and guys came out and they showed that aggressiveness that we saw here tonight. And it carried over from those early practices earlier in the week onto the field. Xavier Sori, he looked like a man possessed. It seemed like every time that I was recording him on my camera, he was flying around, left side, right side, didn't matter, tackling like at will. He led the Razorbacks with 15 tackles, 6 solo, had 2 tackles for loss. And then we have the hometown kid who you just mentioned, Rhodes, North Little Rock's own. He had 6 tackles. He had 2 tackles for loss. And he said that, listen, this is the first time that we're facing A-State. I wanted to make sure I came out in front of my friends and my family and to show them that, hey, I'm here with the flagship school and I'm going to make a statement here on this historic game. And they sure did on the defensive side of the ball. And one of the major things that Sam Pittman pointed out was the fact that he really, really hammered this in early in the week. He wanted to stop A-State's run game.
Yeah.
He knew how lethal it was, and yes, we understand about the ACL injury to Jaquez Cross. We understand that, and that's kind of what hindered A-State right early on in the first half. But whether Cross was playing or not, Arkansas's front 7 was not allowing anybody through. 153 rushing yards for the Red Wolves. And again, it showed that they stepped up to the challenge, and they're heading now into SEC play next week at Ole Miss, knowing that they had a great game defensively.
Yeah, I want to bring up what Sam Pittman said as well about Xavier Sori playing out of his mind, like you said, Josh. I mean, I think he was, and Sam had said this, I think we could all tell he was disappointed in his performance against Alabama A&M. I mean, this is a guy that has been hyped up nationally around the country. And so I think he wanted to come out and show, this is why I wanted to come back. This is why I wanted to stick to Arkansas. This is why I wanted to be here for another year. And I think you saw kind of that fire here last night. Okay, you talk about all the good, Josh. But I got it. Okay, can I be a negative Nancy on the show?
Yes,
Is
you
that
can.
okay? All right, I am going to be a little bit of a negative Nancy because there were some things and there were some issues for the Razorbacks in this one. the way that Arkansas State was able to score those 14 points, they were capitalizing on mistakes, right? One of them, that 98-yard kickoff return touchdown.
Can't happen.
No.
That can't happen, right? And so they capitalized on that, which, by the way, I'm going to point this out for A-State here. If you can take away some positives and a loss, one of them was that play. That tied the record for the 4th longest kickoff touchdown return in program history for A-State. How about that? So I'm going to shout out.
I got to look on Google now.
Hey, I believe you. Believe me there, okay? But I will say that was bad. Special teams, not impressed right now for Arkansas. You've got to clean up those mistakes. You also have to clean up penalties. That was something that Sam Pittman was not happy about last night here against Arkansas State. So having said that, Arkansas State capitalized off of those miscues from Arkansas. But Paige, if you're Arkansas State, because you were there in Jonesboro for week 1 for them against SEMO, where they started bad in that game and then they came back. Okay, Butch Jones talked about that, said he really saw a lot of fight in his guys. He liked what he saw. Well, this game, you have these moments, right? Moments, okay, where you can go look at that and look at that, but then it just fell flat. And I know they're going up against an SEC team, but what did you see from A-State in this one?
Well, I think you really saw 2 things. The depth issues on the roster with A-State and how much of an impact Jaquez Cross's injury is going to have for Jalen Rayner, because he's his go-to guy. I mean, they've worked all offseason to work on the trick plays, the run games, and really serious credit to Arkansas's defense because they were able to collapse the pocket so easily that Jalen Rayner, he was not able to sit there and think and be confident and make those smart decisions that I saw him make in Southeast Missouri. And I think an interesting stat is the fact that the O-line struggled so hard against Southeast Missouri that they allowed 5 quarterback hits, 5 quarterback pressures, but he was never sacked.
Wow.
But then in this game, he was sacked 4 times. And Butch Jones, something that he mentioned was about how, we knew that we were going up against an SEC team. And I emphasize that continuously, time and time again in practice, about how if you slack off in this game, it's going to catch up to you. The size, the athleticism, the speed, all of that is going to make such a big deal. And that's something that they have to work on. Last week they started off slow. This week they started off slow as well. And they can't continue to do that because they have Iowa State next week and they're in the top 25. It doesn't matter that it's going to be at home. They're not going to have this home field advantage because Iowa State is so strong that, they have to go ahead and hit Iowa State straight in the mouth right off the bat.
Yeah, you hope that they can do that. Here's what Butch Jones had to say after the loss last night.
You have to start fast, and this is 2 weeks where we haven't started fast. We had way too many missed assignments on both sides of the football. We did not tackle well starting the game, where I thought Arkansas was a really, really good tackling team on defense. We were inept and didn't have the ability to beat man coverage. They played man coverage, so you're going to be challenged in the run game when a team kind of makes you left-handed and you can't defeat man coverage. So there's a lot of things that we have to go back and we got to get better, and it's not going to get any easier next week with Iowa State coming to town. But we have to teach this as a learning opportunity. Obviously, this is not to our standard nor our expectation. But, critical down execution. They only had 5 third downs the whole game. I don't think I've ever been in a game like that. They averaged over 12 yards per play on first down. So, you're always behind the sticks. So now you can be balanced. You can be a little more aggressive with your play calling. All those that goes into the nuances of the game. So we have to learn from it. Disappointed, but not discouraged. And we have a long season ahead, but we have to learn from today and move forward.
You can watch that full interview with Butch Jones over on our website right now. And guys, I actually got a chance to sit down with Butch Jones in Jonesboro earlier this week. And I actually asked him, hey, this matchup, we may never see Arkansas and Arkansas State ever play again. But is this a game that you would like to see year after year? Or if it can't be done year after year, I know the SEC is going to a 9-game conference schedule, so that makes it kind of hard to do that. But is this a game that you would like to see maybe even bi-yearly if they can swing that? And he said, it is tough with scheduling, but it is something that I think the state of Arkansas would enjoy if this matchup could be played a little bit more frequently. I wonder your thoughts on this after seeing that and seeing the atmosphere. Josh, do you think this is a game that should continue?
Well, see, Sam Pittman, I think he was joking when he said that, but with every joke, there's a level of seriousness, right? He was at the Touchdown Club a couple weeks ago, and he said, now, I didn't say every year in terms of facing Arkansas State. I'm just saying this year in 2025, the Razorbacks are going to take on the Red Wolves. Well, when he said that, I had to sit back and think, I'm like, well, you know what? These types of matchups bring the state together, Why wouldn't you do this every single year? But at the same time, knowing that the SEC is going to 9 games and scheduling issues and stuff like that, okay, maybe you have this game once every 3 years or maybe once every 5 years, but you have to have those in-state matchups. And I understand going back to Frank Broyles and his policy about the flagship school not playing in-state schools because they are lesser than or whatever. But you have to do that in order to bring this state together. Look at what we saw last night here in this stadium. I'm talking about people who came from Arkadelphia, who came from Pine Bluff, who do not get a regular chance to see the Razorbacks in full form. And that's really what it's about. It's not necessarily about matchups and strength of schedule. It's about the community. Sports brings people together. And so would I like this matchup every year? I have to agree with Sam Pittman on that one. No, especially after what we saw last night. No, but I will say every 5 years. How about that? Yeah. Can we compromise on every 5 years, Paige?
I feel like a 5-year compromise is good. I will say this. I was talking to someone earlier in the week, and they showed me a picture of a shirt that they had bought in the 80s with Arkansas State's old mascot, an old logo on it, chasing the Razorback and saying, why not us? Why not us? And so it's a matchup that this state has wanted for a very long time. No matter what happened on the field, I get it, I understand. Yeah. Blowouts are never fun if you're the team that is getting blown out, right? So sorry, I hate to say that, Arkansas State, but it is a matchup that I think, like you said, Josh, is good for the state of Arkansas. It was awesome to see the Arkansas fans and the Red Wolves fans, the diehard Red Wolves fans who showed up in this stadium last night. Paige, what do you think? After having experienced all of that, what do you think?
I don't think we should do it every year. I say every couple of years. I know Josh and we had talked about it, and I was like, no, let's never do it again. No, after what we saw last night. But no, I think it's a great thing for people to experience an SEC game day. Even if you aren't an Arkansas fan, to be able to be a part of that, to watch the Calling the Hogs, how crazy SEC fans get, I think that's the most important part and my favorite part about college football. I mean, when I was at the tailgates, I do have to say, it was a rivalry, but it was not one that was too crazy to the point where it was okay. There was some sort of house divided situation. I met this one couple. Both of them went to Arkansas State, and both of their daughters chose to go to Arkansas, and they were devastated at that decision. I can't even lie.
Raise a child up in the way they should go, but they went the opposite way.
But no, I thought it was really cool to be able to see War Memorial sold out, because I know that Sam Pittman, as a head coach, he has an unblemished record at War Memorial, doesn't have the fondest memories as an assistant coach, starting off with that terrible loss to Toledo 16-12. But I think it was really important for him to be able to get this win last night, so then he can start a new chapter with that.
Well, it's funny you say new chapter, right? Because there's a lot of people that not only wanted the Arkansas State matchup, but there's also a lot of people that would like to see the Razorbacks still play right here in War Memorial Stadium. Right now, that was the last game scheduled. So right now, we have no idea if the Razorbacks will ever play here again. I hate to say ever, because I always like to say they get the band back together. They do things that the Jonas Brothers are still playing, and they broke up years ago. So I hate to say ever and ever and ever, but I think this matchup is important. The Razorbacks going to War Memorial Stadium, because there are a bunch of Razorback fans that showed up here last night that never get an opportunity to go to Fayetteville, sadly. Josh, I feel like you can agree with me there, right? That I don't think they should completely can the matchups at War Memorial Stadium.
And I think part of it is the fan experience. There was a couple years ago, I believe it was Western Carolina that came here. And from people that I've talked to here, in yesterday's game, they were saying how bad it was because, they ran out of water here. They ran out of food. These facilities, Arkansas has built an SEC field and stadium up in Fayetteville. And they obviously prefer to be at their home stadium because they have the amenities to get 70,000 people here versus War Memorial, who at one point was the stadium for the Razorbacks. They no longer have those amenities. And so are upgrades needed? Absolutely. They did a great job last night with last night's game in terms of having porta potties surrounding the stadium.
And water machines as well.
Water machines. I guess there was like an automatic, somebody told me it was like an automatic water machine or something like that because they ran out of water last year, I think by the third quarter. So even then, even a year ago, they were still having issues. So yes, upgrades are needed, but Courtney, you're right. They have to have some type of game here to bring, again, the state together from all parts. And yes, Northwest Arkansas is very important. I don't know if we saw many of those fans come down because, it's a 2.5-hour drive. I don't know.
I don't know.
I ain't going to make that,
Hey, the Jonesboro fans traveled. Come on.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sam Pittman mentioned it. War Memorial's closer to Jonesboro than it is to Fayetteville, which, timing-wise, 2 hours versus 2.5 hours. Listen, that 30 minutes is important.
It is.
So
it is. I get that.
I get that too. But yes, there needs to be some type of presence here for the Hogs. This is where some of the most magical games that we've seen.
Miracle on Markham.
Exactly. Some of the most magical and best memories of the Razorbacks have ever had started on this field and in this stadium and in this city here in the capital city. So I would say it needs to continue. How that's worked out, listen, that's above my pay grade.
That is. All right, Josh, that's above his pay grade. Okay, there you heard it here first, above Josh's pay grade. Josh, I think you bring up some very good points with all of that because I do love this stadium.
Yeah.
I do think it needs some upgrades. I do think it needs a little polish, a little excitement with it. I get it. It's very historic, but it does need an upgrade. Paige, how do you feel about it? Do you think they should continue playing games here?
I think they should. In the entire week I covered what was going to happen with game operations because normally at War Memorial, these games, they aren't sold out. But this time it was so different. There was over 54,000 fans. And when I talked to the stadium manager, I said to him, how are you guys going to prepare for this? And he was like, we're going to be ordering double and triple the amount. He was like, we're going to be acting as if there's 70,000 people in this stadium. They made a ton of upgrades. I know they got a whole new air conditioning system all throughout there. They brought in more water trucks and stuff, more security on the golf course as well, because I know tailgating is a huge thing out there. But I do have to say, they definitely did make the upgrades because Josh and I were walking through the press box and I turned to him and I was like, I feel like food is everywhere. I feel like food is everywhere. And Josh was like, you need to grab yourself Chick-fil-A.
See, I found out where they were stashing the Chick-fil-A. And not only did they have Chick-fil-A sandwiches, because last year it was just one sandwich to a person. This time, they had mild and the spicy. They had a backup sandwich.
All right, listen, I feel like we lost the plot of this conversation just a little bit. Okay, but we're all on the same page, which I love, that we think the game should be continued here. Just maybe just a little few upgrades and it would be really great. But I know it means so much to the state of Arkansas, and I know it means so much to the people here in this area in central Arkansas that the Razorbacks come up and they come and they see them. And I was watching, Taylon Green with the kids after the game and Shakur Smalls, and he turned to me and he was like, this is awesome. And I think it's just because they didn't realize how big the fan base here is as well, just as it is in Northwest Arkansas. So,
And I just wanted to add one more point.
one more point.
Just
Not
one
about
more
Chick-fil-A.
point.
Okay.
Not about Chick-fil-A. Man, I am hungry. Anyway, as the guys were coming off the field, I was with my camera, obviously, recording, and a lot of the guys came up to the camera and they were just like, yeah, this is our state. This is our team. We made a statement here today. This was a historic win. This is our state. I remember Charlie Collins was the main one. Little Rock native. He was the main one coming up to me and saying, what is that? We 2-0 in the season? Oh, yeah. We got that dub. We got that dub. A-State? Yeah. No. It's Arkansas. He made it known that this game mattered. And even though Sam Pittman said that he didn't feel like there was too many Arkansas natives on both squads, he said that we're going to get these guys to understand the significance of what they're about to go through. And Charlie Collins made it perfectly clear after the game. This really did mean something to these guys, especially the guys who were from the capital city. Courtney.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect place to end our first ever Fox 16 Sports Plus show. Remember, you can watch all of our content right here on this lovely CTV app that you guys are watching us on right now. We have plenty of other great shows and content coming up for you on the app, so make sure you keep tuning in. But for us here at War Memorial Stadium, I'm Courtney Mims. He's Josh Berrien. She's Paige Riley. And that's going to do it for us here. We'll see you next time.